Coach Joy here with Real Progress in Action. If you haven't started following this new page, please do. Also on YouTube, because this is the only place my shows are going to be now. Real Progressives filed for 501c3 and 501c4. So our politics has to be completely separate from our educational things. So please sign up to follow us here. In any case, you know how I always love to do the post-debate wrap-ups, because usually I just need to vent or, just share how ludicrous some of them are. And just like last time, I am having my buddy Pat join. Pat Cote, a.k.a. Peter Douche, a.k.a. Nate Sliver. So thank you so much for coming back.
Yeah, aka debate critic, because that was the worst debate I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my God.
I mean, I've seen some bad ones, but that was pretty awful. Like 3 hours, 7 candidates, and you can't flush out any issues. You got like 30 seconds on Medicare for all. I mean, come on.
Oh my God. So first, let's spend a few minutes talking about who wasn't at the debate. Their litmus tests are getting kind of a little bit, I would say, harder to attain, but you still only have to get 4%, which is pathetic. Tulsi was the one that people were like, her people were very upset she wasn't in it, but then she came out and it was very like, well, I don't like you anyway, kind of thing. And she said, well, even if I do make it, I'm not going to show up. But at that point, everyone knew she wasn't going to make it. So it was just kind of very over dramatic. And then Booker and Castro didn't make it either. Corey and Castro have made comments in the past that if we don't make the debate, we will drop. Whether that's going to happen, I'm not sure. I know they don't have any campaign offices, and neither does Tulsi, which to me is bananas. Like, how do you run for president and not have any campaign offices? Like, we have 22 in Iowa alone. So that's banana.
Right. Well, what's your end goal? So if your end goal is to push your platform or push an issue specifically, do it. Tulsi's position is anti-war. I mean, anti-regime change wars. I mean, that's the largest. I mean, maybe there's more. I know there's more, but that's all I've heard.
I mean, if you look at her record, though.
No, I mean, even that. I don't hate on Tulsi. I know most of her supporters, half will probably end up Bernie supporters. So I try not to get into wars with them necessarily. But look, what's the justification for her campaign at this point? I don't understand it. Like a lot of these people. But that's just naturally what happens at this point. And they'll go, but her moves have been very bizarre, and I'll just let people hash that out. I don't care what you're not going to vote up or down. I get all the people that are saying that's a consistent position for her, but if it's a consistent position, like 3 weeks ago, she said we should impeach the guy. So it's not that consistent.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my thing with her is that, she absolutely does try to appeal to the alt-right. There is no question. Her votes and statements have been very not cool. She was, giving props to freaking Mike Huckabee 2 days ago. I don't understand these things.
Yeah. Well, so my position on Tulsi is I disagree with her on a ton of stuff. I respect her for what she did in 2016. I don't think she's a bad actor. I don't think she's acting out of malice. I don't think she's, a Russian agent. I just think she's wrong. And I disagree entirely on most of her platform, to be honest. But
Same.
But I think she benefits from a lot of Bernie supporters that appreciate that she took on the DNC, rightfully so, and she had the courage to do that, and she is standing up for what she believes in. I just largely don't believe in what she believes in.
Right. And I think, there comes a time when we just need to say, look, we thank you for what you did 3 years ago, but that does not absolve you from everything you're saying and doing now. Um, you know, People get very defensive if Bernie doesn't jump and defend her every 5 seconds. Has she said anything about the anti Semitism he is dealing with so rampantly right now? Not a word.
Right.
So, I mean,
Well,
it
so
can't go both ways.
yeah, where she's, and it's rare that people are, in my opinion, better than Bernie on too many issues, but she's probably better on WikiLeaks. But you have to look at his position, and he is the, you know, I think a lot of Tulsi supporters don't see the strategy involved in his position. And if he said everything that she says about WikiLeaks, it would be used against him severely in his campaign since he was the alleged target of the Russian interference.
Right.
So going there it's a whole different element for him than for her. So I don't
But
know.
do you think that
It doesn't mean
is
that he shouldn't say something, but I get annoyed sometimes because the Tulsi supporters think it's a no-brainer, and she's calling out the DNC and he's not. Well, he's trying to win the primary and she really isn't.
let's be honest, she has nothing to lose. Nothing. She already said
Yes.
she's not running for reelection. So with him, he has a lot to lose. He's senator and he's been in politics for over 30 years. He has a chance at winning. She does not. So, and I mean, I've had a lot of her supporters acknowledge she is not going to win. So I
Well,
don't
look,
really.
anyone that thinks anyone that's a Yang supporter at this point, look, these people are not going to win. I mean, you could, even if they're right, say Yang is right, and you fully believe in Yang, and you fully believe in Tulsi, you fully believe in Klobuchar. Let's just say you're insane. But look, if you're at under 4% with a big field like this going into those states without the funding, you're done. You're not going. This election now is not the same election when they point to people that were at 4% in November or December 10 years ago. This is like you need $50 million in the bank to compete. And these people are not going to make it.
Absolutely. Tulsi sent out an email that she announced 10 months ago, and she's raised less than $500,000 in 10 months. That's bad, but not just that. She said she's trying to raise $1 million before December 31st. So what you're saying is you've raised less than $500,000 in 10 months, and you want to raise the other half to hit $1 million in the next 2 weeks. How?
Hey, I mean, go
Because
nuts.
some of the money she raised before was from burners who wanted to get her on the debate stage, and we don't support her now. So
Right. I mean, I valued her voice on the debate stage, and she was very valuable as far as, taking down Kamala. And, she wasn't quite the ally I wanted, but I still appreciated that she took on the establishment and institutional people, and Kamala specifically, in ways that Bernie couldn't. But look, the idea that okay, Yang will never win, right? But if you think Tulsi could win, who has been ostracized and blackballed by the DNC since 2016, like, that's serious delusion. So you have to say, if you're supporting her, that I mean, she won't win. So why are you supporting her? I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, at some point, I mean, I get push those ideas as much as you can until she's out, but she practically can't win now. So, it's time to move on, in my opinion. But
Well, the thing that I'm kind of analyzing right now is, and for my viewers, some of you may not know, I'm in Pennsylvania, but I decided to, on January 1st, I'm going to be going to Iowa for 5 weeks to campaign for Bernie. And one of the things that I'm kind of, come on, somebody. One of the things that I'm thinking about is, in Iowa, we're going to be having a caucus. And that being
right,
said, what is going to happen is my job is going to be to go door to door and to speak with people and hand them literature and, to canvass as we have before. However, the thing that's different this time is I'm going to also say, okay, so you're really sold on Tulsi, or you're really sold on Yang or Klobuchar. If they don't get 15%, which they won't, will you consider making Bernie your second choice? Because what happens in Iowa is, if you
right,
don't get 15%, you don't get a delegate, period. So they count everyone with who they're with, and then they say, okay, you, and you aren't at 15%. So you guys all have a second chance to realign. So not only are those of us in Iowa going to be campaigning for Bernie, we're also going to be campaigning to get the second vote.
So what you have to do is pin them down that they are for a progressive platform.
Absolutely.
And then if they're, because almost all Tulsi supporters will say they're for a progressive platform, as will Yang people.
Sure.
Now they won't lean towards Bernie now when you talk to them online, at least, but you can pin them down that they're progressive, and if they're progressive, there's nowhere else to go.
Right. Well, I think, and that, and also I think one of my strategies is just going to say, okay, look, if you're like, I totally respect who you want to vote for, but if they're under 15%, they're not getting any delegates. And at least if you give us your vote, we can get more delegates, and that's still going to help people get health care, and it's going to help them get student loan forgiveness. And, it's still like, I'm going to try to appeal to them, hopefully having empathy and saying, look, you literally will lose nothing at this point, because if you don't have delegates, you're either going to help someone or you're going to walk away achieving nothing. Like that.
Well, the way that works, they're in a room, so they will go somewhere. I mean, they're actual physical, they walk like it's a high school gymnasium kind of
like
thing where they get up and go join a group. So, I mean, like, are people going to go from Yang to Biden? I don't think so. Maybe Buttigieg. I mean, look,
I think a lot of them
you'll
will
do
walk
fine.
out. Honestly, I really do. Tulsi people, we've seen a lot of write her in hashtags, constant Bernie bashing. I don't know that they're, I wouldn't be surprised if they just left.
I mean, I don't know. I've never been to Iowa. I don't know shit about Iowans other than they're very white, and those are my people. I'm white, but I'm not Iowa white, so I don't know them. But I think if you pin them down on the issues, who knows? But look, everything is raw now because when your candidate is on the way out and you're someone that was rooting for one of these people, you are already sort of an outlier. I mean, not necessarily. I think a lot of Tulsi supporters were just Bernie supporters, but if you're a Yang supporter, you're probably, there's something unique appealed to him about Yang. The automation, the technology, the $1,000, whatever it is. So you're not a mainstream kind of thinker, but you'll be raw for a little bit, but in 5 weeks from now, if Yang's still at 3% going into Iowa, even those people are reality is going to set in. It's not like we have to convince them of everything. We just need to get them to believe in progressive ideas. And you have to say, look, even if Yang can't win, well, everyone's better than Biden. So, this is what happens. If you walk out, you get Biden winning Iowa or something. That's the disaster nobody wants.
That's a good point too. Like, are you going to wish you did give your backup support to Bernie if Biden becomes the nominee? Are you going to regret that?
Right. And at least in a way, like Iowa lets these people come in and cast their first vote. You get to cast your vote for Tulsi. She gets 6%, and you say that's not going to happen, and I go to my next vote. Like most states, you don't get that. So
I'm very glad that I will be in an actual caucus supervising, because I don't want this stupid bullshit like 6 out of 6 coin tosses. Oh, Hillary won. I don't want that crap again. That was just like, everybody knows whoever wins Iowa kicks it all off. And then people start saying, well, they won Iowa, so like that kind of thing. So
that's what's going to be interesting in the news this year is that, so Bernie's probably going to win Iowa. I think he is. You're going to be there. That's going to help. But
okay, say he put pressure on me like that.
It's pretty much your fault. But say he wins Iowa and then trickles down and gets New Hampshire, and then is it South Carolina next, or is it Nevada next? I think it's
Nevada and South Carolina.
Yeah. So, I mean, realistically, look, Bernie could win them all. If he wins them all, it's over. But more realistically, he wins 2 to 3 out of 4. And then they, and listening to the media spin that like somehow that's going to be bad for him. I mean, they have to pretend it's bad somehow coming into Super Tuesday that he lost South Carolina. That's their only narrative that they really have. So, boy, I mean, it's going to be a lot of bullshit. I think that's why we're seeing some of the news right now being a little more honest about it, because they know they're in a bad place. And if they lose us now, they're going to lose us forever when they lie to us on not Super Tuesday, but on the Iowa caucuses and all that,
Absolutely. We're less than 60 days away. Oh my God.
Yeah, we're like under 50.
Under 50. Iowa. Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
Bananas. I'm nervous. I've never been to Iowa, and I'm staying with people I've never met for 5 weeks. So this could be interesting. Hopefully they're nice. But so, I'm looking forward to it, but I will be, I'll be going live here and there and posting and stuff. So you guys will have I'll be sharing the things that which happen and such. But back to the debate, there were some people on the stage tonight who are likely not going to get 15% as well, which is kind of why I brought it up. But
you mean Klobuchar, who's been at 3%, and the media has been hyping up for 3 months like she's a contender, is not going to get 15%? That's crazy.
Yeah. Bill Maher said that she's the one to beat Trump last month. And ever since it's been oh yeah, Amy Klobuchar. She did have a good moment tonight.
Did she?
Yeah. Don't you think?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, I have a hard time watching her, but yes, tell me the moment.
It's like her face just shakes all the time. It makes me so nervous. Lauren sounds like she's gonna cry all the time. Klobuchar's shaking all the time. I don't know. They make me, both of them make me uncomfortable. But she called out Pete, which I enjoy when anybody calls out Pete. So that made me happy. And like she's such a nerd that I can't hate on her too much. I mean, like I don't want her representing me because she's a total neo-lib, but she's just like she's a nerd. So, do you know what I mean? I just can't. I don't know.
I mean, if by nerd you mean she's at 3% and not popular,
No, she like
sure.
laughs at her own jokes and she'll be like she makes weird
Yeah.
facial expressions and she dances bad and she wears mom jeans and
The
like I
bad dancing was the most likable thing she's ever done. And she's
I
terrible at
wanted
the
to hug
dancing.
her. It was phenomenal.
Well,
Absolutely phenomenal.
look, if I try to regular dance, I'll bad Klobuchar dance. So I don't dance. So I don't know. But yes, she was fine tonight. I mean, who cares? She's not going anywhere. Nothing she did tonight is going to take her above 3%. I mean, maybe she get to 4% or something peak, but she's irrelevant in the big picture. And so you look at tonight's debate, right? I looked at the time spent, the time that candidates talk. She was second, and surprisingly, Bernie was first, which is kind of amazing. But he was on the defensive the entire time.
Yeah.
Like it was time spent with garbage, and I still don't believe he was even first, but I looked it up and that's what they said. They said he was first, Klobuchar was second.
Huh. Well, one thing, one thing that you guys missed if you didn't see it was hot damn did Buttigieg got it, but then he gave it back to Warren, and it was beautiful because I can't stand Buttigieg, and I cannot stand Warren. But seeing them go at each other was amazing, absolutely amazing. Rebecca, I said that to my husband. She eats with a comb. So first Warren goes, at Buttigieg, and she tries to steal Bernie's wine cellar, wine cave.
Right.
And Bernie's manager came out with this link that said Pete'sWineCave.com, and when you click on it, it takes you to Bernie's website so you can donate. And I don't know if you guys saw the picture, but it's like literally a wine cave. It's a cave with like thousands of dollars worth of wine. And that's where Pete had his fundraiser the other day, and it was closed door, even though he agreed to have open door ones. So basically, Warren, the hypocrite, was trying to call him out for that. He gave it right back to her. And he said, wait, you transferred over $10 million from your last campaign in which you did things like that. And she wouldn't even look at him. She just stared at her podium. And right, I was like, what's that?
But so tonight they did a lot of that. So that was a heated moment where if you had hypothetically 3 hours for a debate, you would let that go back and forth for a little bit and flush it out. You have 3 hours with 7 people, and you're not going to let that moment have a little breath so that Warren can respond, and you can, because it's almost better. It saved Warren that they didn't let her respond, because she had no response. She would have no response for where her funding from her Senate campaign. I mean, she donated all that to her campaign, and then it helped boost her because she was able to say she did all this fundraising.
Yep. Yeah.
And she didn't really out fundraise Bernie, but it gave her this false boost in the beginning because she said she out fundraised Bernie. And granted, yep. and come to find out, it was all her early Senate money, which was big donor bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Total hypocrisy. She, other than that, you counted 3 times she did that. I've taken over 100,000 selfies.
Oh my God. I don't know. I wasn't checking a list, but I put my notes together afterwards and I was like, she said at least 3 times she brought up the selfies. And every time she brought it up, she thought she would get a big laugh from the audience. Like it was a zing, like I'm sort of being cutesy and making fun of my own selfies. But then she almost cried with the selfies too, a couple times. And it was like, look, selfies are not, no one's emotional about your selfies, Warren. Like she's missing it. Like people are not, every time she says selfies, people are reading like, I mean, I think most people, I'm a little too close to it, so I'm a Bernie guy, obviously, but I think most people don't hear her talking about her selfies and think that's a positive thing. I think
Right.
most people hear that and think, here's a politician. She brought up selfies the third time, like she's Miss
Insipid.
Popular, Miss like person of the people. And it doesn't, I don't think it registers like she thinks it does. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, absolutely. I mean, were presidents not charming before cell phones? I didn't realize that. It's it's pretty, I don't know. It's like you're assuming people are that insipid that they will be impressed by something so stupid. Like,
Well, and it has a built-in shallow factor. Like when people think of
yeah,
selfies, even if she doesn't intend it and she's thinking of the bigger picture, just from a marketing branding standpoint, you're the word selfie implies like narcissist.
yeah,
And so she's talking about all this narcissism in a way, like it's just a bad campaign to bring that up all the time, in my opinion. Like it's not strategically smart.
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
like even if you're gonna just say I met all these people and took pictures, like just don't use the word selfie. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand. Um, One of the things we were talking about Bernie, and we both agreed it was not his best. But I will say, I had something in the pit of my stomach. Like I felt nervous because the one woman who was a moderator, Yamiche, she
She hates him.
actually, huh?
Oh, she hates Bernie.
She also hates me because she interviewed me for the New York Times and we spoke for over 15 minutes and she took like bits and pieces of what I said and made me sound like an absolute idiot. She was like, she took a quote I was saying, she's like talking to me about his age and don't I worry about it. I said, not at all. He's like superhuman or something. And just the way I talk, just very like facetious and then she put in the article, he's like dot 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 superhuman or something. And I sounded like a freaking like Valley Girl 12-year-old. And she just did stuff like that with the quotes she actually used.
Right.
And
She
she was
tried to portray you as like some fanatical person.
some young idiot, yeah,
Right.
and called me a fan instead of a supporter. That's one of my
Right.
biggest pet peeves. I hate that shit. Ugh. So yeah, I
It's
already
all
am just
collective.
not a fan. So when I saw she was gonna be one of the moderators, I immediately was like, oh shit. Now I
Well,
am
so
surprised she wasn't that bad with him tonight. I thought she was going to be way worse. But tomorrow there will be an article within the next 24, 48 hours. I will promise. For
well,
sure.
so I didn't keep track of the whole thing, but just afterwards, because I was rage tweeting, like I try to set some limit. I try to tweet on every response, which is painfully hard to do because I need a beer
Your
every once in a
Biden
while.
ones are my favorite.
But so I'm like, great. I swear I tweeted like 100 plus, but afterwards I said that and I was like, I had a few minutes to think about it, and I'm like, okay, every intro question to Bernie, I have three that I wrote down. Like so Bernie had a lot of time to talk, but the question was, the first one I think was, Obama says men suck, especially old white men, more or less. That was his question. It was
Right.
this like, it was this whole like, Obama's saying we need to pass the torch to women and men are terrible and old men are just out of touch and the worst. What do you think, Bernie? Like, how is
Yeah.
that? Like, no one else gets that kind of intro question, right? So that
Right.
was a to Bernie thing. And then the other one was, okay, Congress is stacked with Republicans. Your Medicare for all can't pass. What do you do when it doesn't pass? Your failure, your things can't work. talk about it. And then the next one was, oh, you voted for the war in Afghanistan. That was a big mistake. Something. Well, every single person voted for the war in Afghanistan. Bernie wisely mentioned the one person that didn't, but he didn't make a big enough deal about it. But everyone voted to go to war, for the funding for the Afghanistan war. But so that's why like Bernie had the most time speaking, but it was all defensive, which is why at the end of the day, so another one, and this is where Bernie looked the worst to me, was answering the trans question. I don't know if you remember, he was asked, what specifically will you do for the trans community? I forget the specifics about the question, but so if you look at his time up to that point, they hadn't asked him anything. So typical Bernie, he's looking for a window to expand on his issue to all of his other issues, because we haven't talked about anything important yet. And that's not that the trans stuff isn't important, but he tried to expand on that to Medicare for all helps the trans community more than anything. And I think that kind of flopped because it looked like too hard of a pivot, and it wasn't a good answer. But I feel like that's kind of a setup, because that's how Bernie is. You get him on one thing, on one specific area, and he knows he's so used to being ignored by the media that he takes that as an opportunity to expand on his bigger platform. And so he did that, and he didn't do it well. Like, I think he should have done, a much better job. And that was it. They're going to knock him for that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. I understand what he was trying to say, like, because he was trying to get that under Medicare for all, surgeries for trans people would be covered. So I understand where he was going from for that perspective, but I think the question was way more about what will you do to help Black trans women who are ending up dead? That's what the question was.
That was the question. And the problem is that he had too long of a period not talking about his platform, that he took that as an opportunity. And I think they knew that this would happen. I mean, this was, I think, strategic. I'm not going to defend his answer, but I think that was, knowing his personality and who he is, he took that moment to try to make it about everything. And it was a really focused question, which makes him look bad that he took that focused question and didn't address the focus question. So I'm going to knock Bernie on that one. It wasn't a good answer.
Right. I agree. Absolutely. You did touch on the Afghanistan question. That is something from his past that did bother me, that he voted for that. Granted, literally only one person didn't, who he gave props to, Barbara Lee.
Right.
However, for a politician to say, I was wrong, he said those exact words, I was wrong. I was like, that's my man, because, politicians don't say shit like that. They just don't. They evade. They try to, they deflect. They don't take that responsibility. But when he said I was wrong, I was like, yes, you were. Thank you.
Well, that's where, like, no matter how much Bernie got an answer right or wrong or whatever, like, the unquestionable part about Bernie is that he's authentic. Like, people, no one, very few people, only like really diehard haters don't think he's authentic. Like, he is who he is and believes what he believes. Like, he's not someone that people don't really trust. Like, and that's the latest poll. I think it was Morning Consult, but regardless, he's the highest trusted Democrat with the least unfavorables, which goes against everything that they've been saying, on the media forever. Look, Democrats love him. It's just the only question to most people. I mean, to the most people that are skeptical or against him is electability, and that's the only thing that Biden has. So the second that drops, and I thought tonight, was going to be a bigger moment with Biden flailing. But it didn't happen. And in Biden's defense, he wasn't a drooling idiot. I mean, he didn't do anything to make anyone that didn't support him vote,
Well,
like him.
here's one thing that was really fucking weird. He said, he goes, we've been able to cherry pick the best from all countries. What does that mean?
What section was it? What were they talking about? I don't
Immigration.
remember. Oh, immigration.
Like, we've been able to cherry pick. What? Yeah, I'm burn it turn 2020. I've told Miss Nina 3 times in person, I'm not fucking around. Burn and turn.
Well, you know what? The closer it gets, the more I want him to pick someone freaking radical as his VP. I mean, I'm at the point where I'm like, it's got to be either Nina or
Rashida.
No, shit. I don't know. I can't remember his name. The movement for the shit. Let's just move on. Edit this out. I don't remember his name. But God damn it, what's his name?
Roe?
No, God, no Roe whatsoever. No, black guy, pastor. See, you're having a problem too.
I met him, and I can't think of Reverend Barber.
Reverend Barber. Okay,
here's the thing with that, though. They're both old.
Yes, but the thing is, Bernie needs insurance. He needs someone like Warren as his VP is not going to work for me. I don't. There's too much at stake.
My heart anyway, break in 1,000,000,001 pieces. Do I think Warren and Bernie could win as a team? Yes. I would still vomit as I press the button.
But I don't think that's a safe move. I mean, honestly, like I just don't. I mean, I hate to be honest.
I'd rather have it than not have him at all. But I think at this point, I do see some comments about Tulsi. I would have been okay with that a few months ago, but through my observations and through speaking with people in other states and just seeing how things have unfolded up until currently, I think that he would be crazy to pick Tulsi as VP. And I think that her endorsement at this point would actually hurt our campaign.
Can I just say, I mean, I don't want to turn Tulsi people off, but there's no world where he's picking Tulsi now. None.
Do what?
He's not picking Tulsi.
No, I don't see that at all.
And I thought he might have a few months ago, but she's too toxic. She could have not been this toxic on her own.
She could have not run against him too.
But she could have ran against him and been an ally. And I'm not saying a perfect ally. You don't have to agree on everything, but she drew ire that he doesn't need that would hurt his campaign without question.
And it pushed off a lot of burners who did have her back. Maybe we wouldn't have voted for her because we were with Bernie, but it pushed a lot of us.
Right. And she would have been in a lot of ways had she not been so divisive to mainstream Democrats and progressive Democrats in a lot of ways. But, I get that a lot of it is smears in the media, and she's been unrightfully smeared in a lot of ways, but she brought a lot of this stuff on herself that is going to be too toxic for Bernie to ever have in his campaign. And that might be hard for Tulsi folks to deal with, but that's reality.
Absolutely. I think, even though, the Russia stuff with her is complete bullshit, we all know it is, whether we support her or not, it's garbage. But does our campaign really want to be associated with that? No. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah, and at one point she would have brought in a lot of more center right libertarian thinking people, and it would have been an asset. And she had, she had the military credentials and foreign policy credentials on some levels, and things that Bernie might have been perceived as lacking. But now, how does her resume help Bernie? I just don't see how it does.
No.
I mean, anyway, moving on. Let's talk about the debate.
She came out against a federal job guarantee. She backed off on Medicare for all. She doesn't support the Green New Deal. There's too many differences.
Too much. Okay, so can I talk about my best moment for Bernie, I think?
Yes.
To me, my favorite moment was him calling out Pete Buttigieg for having only 39 billionaires.
Only.
And saying, I hope you can catch up to Biden with 44.
That was a gem.
That was the moment where, that laid a lot on the line. That was like, that registered with people, I think.
Yes. It was.
And I don't think Bernie had a good night. I think he sucked overall. I mean, not because his politics was bad. The format was terrible.
Like good and bad. One thing that I'm just not happy about, and even though it was rude as hell for Biden to say this, I'm not happy with Bernie because he was doing his thing and he can't help that. But Biden said, "Would you get your hand out of my face?"
Right.
That was a bad look for Bernie because he does do that when he's getting ready to say something and it was not his turn to talk.
Right.
That looked bad. And I mean, I give him a C. I loved when he apologized for Afghanistan, and I loved when the jokes he made about whoever's in the White House, i.e. Bernie Sanders, things like that. Right. I like that.
But so right from the start, when they did the introductions, you could tell that audience was very anti-Bernie. Did you hear the volume level on when they were announcing candidates? It was like, and then it was just like half the level. So either they cut
thousands of dollars to get a ticket.
Yeah. So I mean, it was very Bernie had a few awkward moments where he sort of tried to land little jokes that didn't. Kind of like when he cut in a couple times. I don't remember specifically, but they didn't really land. But I look at tonight and I don't think much moved at all. I think what's important is that Warren didn't move up, Buttigieg didn't move up. They both sort of just slugged it out with each other mostly. None of that. Nobody really took on Bernie. I mean, they kind of took some jabs about paying for it, and Biden tried his big moment and. Whatever. I don't think anything landed. So I think tonight it was pretty much a wash, which just keeps things trending as they were. I mean, in a way, this was a good night for Biden, just because, like I said, he didn't drool on himself and his eyeball didn't explode. He didn't look like a disaster, but like.
His teeth didn't fall out. Like nothing happened medically.
Right. But the closer things get to real, which I mean, I really thought tonight was going to be more of it, and it wasn't. But the closer it gets to seeing these people here as potentially taking on Trump, like people, it's still abstract to people, I think, right now. And when they get to a point where they're thinking about Biden tripping over his words and stuttering, like, I don't want to make fun of people that stutter, but forgetting things and skipping phrases, it's not really just stuttering. It's just that he's putting out incoherent sentences. If you slow it down, he's got brain gaps, and that's probably part of stuttering. That's kind of screwed up. It's just what it is, but he can't take on Trump, so the closer it gets to that being real, it's not going to work for Biden. So as long as we're second closer, as long as we're in the second spot as we get to more, like a couple weeks from Iowa, I think we're in a good position.
I think we are too. I don't want to get complacent because you
Never.
can't trust the polls, and they're always just typically landline. But I think I'm going to disagree with you as far as people staying the same in the polls. I do think Klobuchar will go up a point or two, not a lot. And I unfortunately I do think Yang will as well. I think he had a good night. The problem is when like as a journalist, I know like when these people are just talking completely out their ass, which is so frustrating because I'm like, oh, if I actually didn't know that they were completely full of shit right now, what they're saying would sound all right. But I can see how they can dupe people.
Yeah. So I see that piece to Yang, but that's like he's been surviving on gimmicky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that he fails to do every time, so he is in a position to possibly pivot that to electability, like to actually being viable. But he fails every single debate by not acting like he's been there. Like he always has a gimmick, or I'm still here. There's always something that he sells himself to the public as not belonging there.
Yeah.
And as much as that's a selling point to his supporters, it doesn't broaden his audience. It's like I don't see him like, look, his peak is like 5, 6. I don't know. He can get some more support, but he's already had 6 debates where he's the guy who's like, Yang bucks, $1,000, sign up on the website. Like that doesn't work. And
the thing that
he solidified himself as that guy to me. Like, and it's too late. He could have the perfect debate from here. He could have there are 4 more debates before voting. He could have 4 more perfect debates, and he's not going to get 10%.
Well, they're okay. So let's think. There's only one more debate before Iowa.
No, there's 4. Well, no, you're right. You're probably right. There's 4 more debates.
There's a January debate
next year. Yes, so there's the 14th, I think, or something next in January.
So this is going to be really interesting because, well, first of all, and I can't remember if it was you or someone else, but I was stressing the point that the more people to split the vote, it really is better for us. Because, like, okay, Kamala dropped out. They all went to Warren. They didn't come to us. She was better in the race. Split that. They all went to Warren. So let's say Cory Booker and Castro drop out. We're not getting them either. So,
I think we'll get a decent amount of Booker votes. I mean, but
you think
those people, they're so low. I mean, it's not like I want to say it doesn't matter because we want all the voters, but they're not significant, in the big picture. I mean, like, they're just not, I mean, they might be state by state, like maybe in Iowa, I don't know. Because those people, they're usually, when your campaign's failing, you put all your money in Iowa. And it's your Hail Mary, so maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know.
That's what I was going to say. Also, one of the talking heads actually inadvertently made me think of something. January is going to be with the entire impeachment thing. Senate may be called to spend like 2 weeks. That
Well, I think
scares me because Bay has more campaigning and more rallies to do. We can't
right,
lose him for 2 or 3 weeks. That would
right,
that would not be good because then surrogates will have to go on his behalf. Okay, cool. Miss Nina kicks ass always, but that doesn't mean that we want her to replace him.
right.
This could be bad. That worries me.
Yeah, I mean that could definitely happen. But the upside is that then we're talking about surrogates. So I don't know how AOC plays in Iowa. Granted, I'm a Californian, which is sort of like a New York, and it's sort of we're progressive already, so those people appeal to us. Maybe in Iowa, she doesn't have the same play.
Oh
Uh,
no, we kicked ass in Iowa when she spoke with him. There was standing room only and
right.
overfill. Yeah. She
Yeah.
can
So
she
I
can bring
mean,
a crowd for sure, but
look,
it's
I
just
mean,
kind of daunting.
so I'm just thinking about this now. It's not like something I put literally 30 seconds into before in my life. But um, look, Bernie, I love Bernie to death. His message resonates like crazy to me. But honestly, he's not the best speaker. I mean, let's just cut the bullshit. We love him because we trust him. We don't love him because he gives a powerful. Uh, Obama gave better speeches than Bernie. It's just that we believe Bernie. We know Bernie. We know what he's saying makes sense. So I don't think necessarily as much as people think, as long as people will show up, as long as you have an AOC on the ballot, that's gonna not the ballot, but the list for the venue, and people show up and hear the people, Bernie has great people come and talk. So I don't know. I'm not as worried about it as you probably are.
Well, the Bernie blackout's real to begin with, so I guess that's probably my concern. But Miss Jenna, one of my dearest friends, she said it's fucking by design. And my husband and I had made a few comments like that earlier, and we were thinking, okay, so and this may sound conspiracy theory to some people who haven't been dealing with the DNC cheating and rigging and everything. But those of us who protested it and everything have been dealing with it for 3 years. So in any case, one of the things that we were thinking about is, how Pelosi is like, no impeachment, no impeachment, no impeachment for literally over a year. And then all of a sudden it's like, yes, queen. Well, something my husband and I thought of tonight, just like randomly, was
Get him off
okay.
the trail.
What's that?
To get Bernie off the trail.
Well, here's the thing that, but not just that. Let's think about this. The only people who wouldn't have to get off the trail, Biden, because he's not doing anything politically, and Yang, because he has no political experience, and Steyer and Bloomberg. Who else? Oh, Buttigieg. So all people who suck, and they'd be available while everyone else is not. So I was like, that's a really interesting thought. I'm not sure. I mean, it was just something we came up with tonight, but I mean, can't put it past them.
Look,
But
they're literally going to try every move possible.
yeah.
I mean, look, they're anything they can do. I mean, when you decide strategically to get your people in the press to start saying Bernie's anti-Semitic, you have hit the kitchen sink part of politics, because Bernie's Jewish and his parents died in the Holocaust. His family died in the Holocaust. I mean, like, and anyone paying attention just a little bit hears that argument and thinks you're full of shit. So it works against them. So they've already cut that argument down. They tried it for a day,
they should
but
have asked about that. I was hoping they would, but shocker, they didn't.
yeah, and they didn't bring up Jank. They didn't bring up, because they knew he would be ready for those hits. So instead, what they did was strategically, they didn't let him talk for a while. I swear this is calculated stuff. I could be full of shit, but this is what I really feel. I feel like they really understood who he was and planned on not letting him talk for a while, asking the trans question, and then getting him to expand and blow it, which he did. In my opinion, he blew it. I don't, this could be just conspiracy shit, but
No, we found out 3 years ago, expect the unexpected. We found that shit out. Like, we have to prepare ourselves for everything crazy. And you know what? Jenna, you're killing me. Maybe someone else will enter the race. I know.
God, no.
Here's the thing, though.
Good. Get in there.
The few states, the time has passed that you have to register by to be on the ballot, but that doesn't mean a certain someone didn't have someone go for her or go incognito, because I'll be damned if she lets another woman be the first woman president. She's not gonna let that happen. I don't know what's gonna go on, but she's just no.
I'm going to put that all at 0% chance.
So I hope you're right.
Yeah, but I would love, please get in the race, Hillary. Please get in the race.
No!
That would be, yes, please get in there.
Why?
Instantly, she splits Biden's vote. Biden's vote is down to nothing. Biden's vote is hanging on by the... Look, Bernie's support is 70% of his voters are solid Bernie, period. Mm-hmm. No one, the next closest thing is 40%. It's not even close, because all the people that are polling, it's like when my family I'm in California with Democrat. Everyone I meet is Democrats. Everyone I know is Democrats. I don't understand the Trump world as well as a lot of people because of that. Because I'm so surrounded by Democrats. But I'm surrounded by a lot of shit centrists. And unlike what a lot of people think, California is not this liberal bastion. California is full of people that are like, oh, we're Democrats. We're good people. We're heroes. That's all that matters. I vote Democrat. We're like the bougie, mimosa drinking people I make fun of.
Avocado toast.
Yeah, that's for a reason, because that's these people. So my parents' friends, they had a party recently, and I tried to find out who are you going to support? And they were all just fishing for someone, and they don't know anyone they like. They don't, nobody. They're just not wanting to vote for Bernie. So in the centrist world, they're just grabbing on someone, who is it? But they don't so our support alone being solidified with Bernie and with young people and with disenfranchised voters is enough to win this thing. But if we can win some of these older people over too, that's how we really get it. And we do that by which the campaign is not done yet, is explain to a lot of these older voters that Medicare for all is not just Medicare for all. It's not just Medicare. It's all the supplemental bullshit you have to pay for. It's Medicare, it's dental, it's vision, it's long-term care, it's psychological care, therapy, whatever, so these, but that sell hasn't even been made yet, because Bernie has to lock up the young vote, first and foremost.
And we have the young vote. We just need them to get their asses to the polls. If young people turn out, we will rock this shit.
Well, I forget numbers. I'm terrible with numbers, but I looked them up recently, and in 2018, it was something like a 70% increase in millennials or something. You know, it was a huge sea change in the middle in the midterms. So
Mhm.
if that same rate carried through to 2020, we win. You know, none of that means be complacent, but so I struggle with mentioning that stuff because it makes people complacent versus we need the optimism, you know. So
Right.
it's kind of a toss up, but I
I
feel
always
like we're
add
gonna,
that little caveat. I can't help it. I'm like, but
yeah, and election fraud is still perfectly legal, so fuck them all. You know, we're gonna if look, honestly, if like someone like Warren wins a state, there's some bullshit going on. I'm sorry.
well, here's the thing, and Jenna kind of read my mind. You're in California. You saw it. I saw it. I met people who at Occupy DNC who who were victims of it when when the California election happened and over 2 million people, learners, were given the incorrect ballots for no
Yeah.
party preference. They all ended up in red totes, locked in a big freaking closet room. Over 2 million votes did not count because they were given the wrong ballots.
So so personally, I had my own ballot switched twice. Like if there's someone that's aware of how this ballot process works, it's me. Like I'm not, I'm, you know, like am I gonna mess up my ballot? So twice I had to change myself back from being registered as an Green Party, so there's a independent. So normally you would register as an independent in the state and think you're neutral or something. But there's an independent something that's basically it's a Republican Party or it's a libertarian. I don't know, but it's a specific party. So you're not picking independent. It's on the ballot on purpose to throw you off. So you register and like say, oh, I'm trying to be a neutral party so I can compete in and not compete, but I can vote in either primary. So the way California works, you have to be either Democrat or unaffiliated specifically.
Mhm.
So if you register as this independent party that cons a lot of people into thinking they're registering as unaffiliated, you can't vote in the Democratic primary. But I've had to change twice in the last year, and I wouldn't even know that if I didn't go vote in the local KDEM elections, which is the California Democratic institutional stuff to vote for who gets endorsements. And like, it's really party stuff that nobody knows about. If I didn't go to that thing, I wouldn't even know. And I would go to vote coming up in July and they would say, oh no, sorry, here's a provisional ballot, which would never get counted.
I think what I've been suggesting, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but what I've been telling people in Chicago, California, please just register Dem. Don't even fuck with it. Just
Yeah,
register
no.
and
I'm
switch back. Like,
Yeah.
and check your registrations because last time we also had hundreds of thousands of people who had their registration switched without their request or knowledge.
Well,
So they
100%.
would vote
And
and they'd be switched to Republican and they've never been a Republican in their life. All of these things
so
point to if we had open primaries, Bernie would be president. It's that simple.
so can I just say for California, so you'll hear people say, even people I know, like I know Democratic Party people that are progressives, and they're like, it's impossible that your ballot was changed. And they will tell me this. And these are people I know that are in the Democratic Party. They're not trying to be malicious, right? These are actual people I know. I could name names, but I'm not trying to name names. And they're like, it's impossible, right? It's impossible. But what just came out is that over 1 million registration preferences were changed in the DMV in California, which is where it happens because the California registration is tied into the DMV, and the DMV has access to change all these votes. They could say you're, whatever. Anyway, the point is, it can happen. It happened to me twice. I'm not trying to be conspiracy guy. Like I'm the case study this. So don't believe that shit. Check your registration online, change it to Democrat. I'm a Democrat now. I keep checking it. I'm still a Democrat. But I had to change twice in the last year, and I know my shit. I'm not an idiot. I might be an idiot, but I'm just
not in that regard.
I'm just saying I literally follow this stuff. So when these people say it can't happen, we just found out it could happen because there was an article in the Chronicle about the DMV switching 1 million registrations, and that's where it happens. So somehow it's possible.
I tell everyone in Pennsylvania as well, I just say print out your paper, your registration showing you are registered on the date that you have to register by, so that they see on that date you are registered. Don't fuck with me. I don't care if you change it afterwards. It doesn't look on this rate, on this exact date, it says I'm a Democrat.
Right. So my point to all these people.
Proactive.
All right.
We shouldn't have to do that, but
no, it's stupid. Yeah. So my point to all the people that don't believe in the system and think, we're all fucked and why compete in this system, or why even, whatever. My point is make the biggest showing we can in 2020 about how much support Bernie has. And even if you're right and the system is fucked and we can't win in the system, the more we all register as Democrats and vote and actually vote for Bernie, the better our case will be to flip cars over in the street in 2020. Like, if you don't register and vote for Bernie, it's one less vote to make the case that he was bullshitted and they cheated us.
Exactly.
That's how I feel.
And we're fighting for delegates too. I will never forget in 2016, Muthen, Massachusetts, one vote changed and gave us a delegate. One vote. I'll never forget that. So, yeah.
Well, and that's why I'll never forgive Warren. I mean, Bernie lost her state by the thinnest of margins. It was like 15,000 votes or something. And, and that was when he was in the middle of peaking and being viable for the first time. Like he ran into Massachusetts and it was like, why doesn't she support him? Something's wrong. And had she supported him, then he would have won the state. He would have. And then he wouldn't have gone into New York with that question mark next to him.
He would have
they cheated New York, obviously, but there's a limit to what you can do. That's
Well, if she would have endorsed him, people would have been presumptuous. She would have been VP. Perhaps she even would have been. At that point, we would have been okay with it because we didn't know as much about her. And so anyway, so they would have seen, oh, wait, here's a woman who has a good reputation in the Senate. She's known as being strong and tough on Wall Street and all this stuff we still believed back then. So if she would have endorsed him, that not only would have won us Mass, but I think it would have helped us all around. I will never forgive her because thousands of us, we called her office, we emailed her, we sent letters. I mean, we just hounded her for 3 months straight. Please endorse Bernie. Please, 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 please. I mean, they've been friends forever. And they were the most alike, and you
Well,
know,
how could
he
you
did it.
pretend to be, you know, granted it's a different world now, but how can you pretend to be a progressive and not have backed him? I mean,
Not
it was
possible.
one it was one thing if Massachusetts was like the third state to vote, but he was viable. Like it became a war where he could win and she stayed out of it. And that I'll never ever forgive her for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what do you think? Is there, do you have any like last thoughts on the debate? Did anything stick out? Are you looking forward to anything like next time or
So the biggest thing for me is that unfortunately Biden didn't expose himself as a terrible drooling idiot. So that's going to be up to us to expose. Like we have to hammer home to people. This is how I see it. So I try to put myself in older people, like the people that watch MSNBC and all these shows where they're not getting any of the Biden. They're not showing Biden forgetting what cities he's in and all the obvious stuff that we see. And whatever, pretend that's all just nonsense. That's all just noise. It's just him being old and tired on the trail. And he's a normal guy. But no matter what you think of Biden, young people are not going to show up for Biden. Young people are not going to knock on doors. They're not going to canvass for him. They're not going to do the things that win a campaign. So if you really want to stop Trump, these people need to know like half the party will never show up. So when you talk to these older people, you need to say, look, I get how you feel, but young people really despise him because of the crime bill, the Bankruptcy Act, all these things that they're like they're not just going to get in line with a Democrat. Like they're in $100,000 of debt that they can't forgive because he fucked them over. Or, you know, they know people in jail because of the crime bill that they're not going to forgive. Their cousin is in jail because of the crime bill. You know, these are young people that you can't beat Trump without these people knocking on doors and like actually getting active and helping him win because every election is, unfortunately, lately, every election is who you hate more. So it's like, it's not even about the policy. It's just like, these people need to knock on doors and young people are not going to knock on doors for Biden. They're just not. Biden's going to lose, period. They need to know Biden's going to lose. Like, forget about who you like more. Old person, Biden is going to lose.
yeah,
That was a
absolutely.
neck break. Sorry. And I don't mean that. I don't really actually literally mean that, but that was.
Do you guys see what he just did to me? No. Yeah, I mean I agree. Biden will not be Trump. I mean, hands down. There's like it's and I'm not just saying this cuz I'm biased. Bernie has over 1 million volunteers. There are people like me who are going across the country to volunteer for 5 weeks to a place they've never been because they believe in his movement that much. That's the kind of person that can beat Trump. Someone who has that energy and that excitement. And, I mean, our movement is unlike anything else. It really is. And all we have to do is make sure to get people to the polls, which sounds easy and it's not. So that's what we really need to focus on. The excitement is there. You know, it's gonna. I just keep hounding people, and like I swear, the first person who says I didn't register in time, I'm blocking them because I'm just gonna be so livid. There's no excuses. Point blank. I'll tell everyone straight up, no excuse. Register as Dem on time, period. You don't vote for Bernie, even though you support him. oh well, then don't come crying if he loses. Period. We all have a responsibility. If you support him, act on it. It's that simple. Um, so that's the anxiety talk. Get off your fucking ass. Just vote for him, damn it.
Vote for him, damn it. Come on.
That's gonna
Yes.
be my new shirt. Vote for Bernie, damn it. Um, and then the back will say, "I know that's right." So what's upcoming for you, Pat?
Nothing. So I'm doing my book, which is it's a little slower than I thought, but I apologize to my Patreon people. So don't join my Patreon if you want something right away, because I suck. But I'm
Well,
working
you're
on,
still in
but
school too, so
yeah, but actually it's going to very much not suck soon because my deadline for my next book is February. So I'm going to be releasing chapters of my book like a maniac and from now until February. So anyway, my next book is as Nate Silver is When Life Gives You Don Lemons. So it's like it's addressing all the bullshit in the media, think tanks, media, all the stuff. Anyway,
we should write a book together. That'd be amazing.
let's do it. I got
Dude,
this.
like I was an English major. I'm not kidding. I can be kind of funny sometimes too.
Well, we should do this because my last book was barely edited. I mean, it was all right, but but my editor, she's not watching, thankfully. I love her. She's a great person.
Yeah, dude, you want me to edit it for real?
Sure, let edit it. I'm gonna
I'm,
put it
I'm
edited by
down.
Joy and yep, done.
I am down. Yeah, boy. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Pat. We always love to have you. Um, you guys, I'm really sporadic right now. I do leave for Iowa on January 1st. There's 12 of us in Pennsylvania who are going January 1st. We're driving to Iowa. We rented a big van, and then they're coming home the morning of the 5th, and I'm staying there for the next 5 weeks through the caucus. So I'll be updating every now and then. But I'm sure I'll do one or two more shows before I leave, but nothing like scheduled at this point because everything's so, chaotic. But thank you guys for watching as always. And thank you so much, Pat, again.
Of course, I want lots of pictures.
Yeah. All right. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.